So years ago, a young person named Hannah was making her living as a full-time poet. In other words, she was often broke. I don't find that very funny. And so Hannah was looking to earn a little extra cash, and her search led her to a job teaching poetry to third graders. Now, Hannah was a writer who can hang with the best. She's published books, snagged fellowships, and has awards to her name. And so teaching poetry to humans so tiny they could barely spell MLA was going to be a breeze. But what Hannah didn't expect was that every week her mind would be blown as she read her students' work. You see, these kids, as young as 8 years old, were writing poems that were often abstract and cryptic, but were always mind-bendingly imaginative. Let's see, writing about life as a movie, one child wrote, "This is a universe factory, a sound of rolling cymbals." About life with a terminal illness, another wrote, "The owls of midnight hoot like me, closing the doors to nowhere." And on grief, a third child wrote, "Peace be a song, a silver pool of sadness." Now, if you're hearing those lines and thinking you have no idea what that means, that is how you know it's poetry. I'm half joking about that. Because the point is that these kids were writing about topics that have obsessed poets for thousands of years, but they were doing it using language that Hannah had never heard before. They were doing it using language that you might call innovative. Now, Hannah watched as these third graders grew into high schoolers, and as they did, their writing changed, and not in the way you might hope. It became predictable and cliche and kind of boring. That same kid who'd written that line about peace being a song was now writing lines like, "If love is a crime, then call me a criminal." Always hurts to say that one. You see, as these kids aged, they became less willing to take risks in their work, and their writing became less imaginative as a result. See, I'm not going to claim to know exactly what an 8-year-old sees when she describes peace as a silver pool of sadness, because that is unlike anything I've ever heard before. But that's also what makes it innovative. She hasn't spent decades being molded by the rules that have shaped the writing of everyone else around her, and so she's able to give us a perspective that can actually challenge the way we see a small piece of this world. She's able to give us this thing that we call poetry. The poet's job is to forget how they think poetry has to be done. And that is exactly what every single one of us is here to do today. Over the next couple of days, we're going to encounter so many new business principles that we're not familiar with that sometimes we might question whether we know what we're doing and feel a little bit outside of our comfort zones. But I promise you this. No poet has ever made their masterpiece without moving their pens in a direction that's a little unfamiliar.